"Take off your helmet," the alien queen ordered, then stunned by the human. Every corner of the hall was polished, and strange alien symbols glowed softly along the walls. Humans had never seen anything like it before. Ethan Parker stood in the corner of the main observation deck, his back straight and his hands resting lightly on his belt. He was a human soldier trained to act calm in the most dangerous situations. His eyes scanned the room carefully. Around him, the alien royal family was already gathered. Queen Lysara sat on her throne, a tall figure with glowing violet eyes and a crown that seemed to float just above her head. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and her presence filled the room. Beside her stood Princess Alira, a young alien with curious green eyes and a quiet strength. She clutched her small weapon at her side, but it was clear she trusted the queen to handle any danger. Ethan's role was simple: guard the princess. But from the moment he stepped onto the cruiser, he felt tension in the air. The alien court was wary of humans. They had never trusted outsiders fully, and Ethan's kind carried a long history of both curiosity and suspicion. "Keep your helmet on," the queen's voice commanded in a tone that was sharp but measured. Her words echoed through the hall. "I will decide when it may come off." Ethan nodded silently. He had expected strict rules, but the queen's authority was stronger than anything he had faced before. Other human soldiers moved quietly, their helmets covering their faces, standing at attention. It was strange to be so visible and so watched at the same time. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Outside the large window, stars streaked by as the cruiser adjusted its course. Ethan felt a flicker of unease. Something about the calm felt too deliberate. Princess Alira stepped closer to the queen. Her eyes darted toward Ethan briefly. There was curiosity there, but also fear. Humans were known to be unpredictable. "Are they dangerous, Mother?" she asked softly, her voice melodic but cautious. Lysara looked down at her daughter, her glowing eyes sharp and unreadable. "Humans can be brave, they can also be reckless. Watch Alira, observe, we will see where his loyalty truly lies." Ethan, unaware of the private conversation, remained still. He focused on the room, noting the positions of the alien guards, the layout of the chamber, and the unusual patterns on the walls that might hide defensive systems. He had learned long ago to be ready for anything. Suddenly, a loud vibration shook the cruiser. The walls hummed and the lights flickered. Some of the alien attendants paused, their long fingers tightening on the straps of their weapons. Ethan immediately dropped into a ready stance, his hands brushing the handle of his sidearm. A small drone appeared in the center of the room. Its body was spherical, covered with tiny lenses, and it hovered silently. Then, in a language Ethan did not understand, it projected a series of holographic symbols into the air. The symbols twisted and turned, creating a message meant for the queen alone. She stared at the symbols, her eyes narrowing. Ethan could sense tension rising. Her hands moved quickly in a series of gestures, and the drone immediately vanished. Then the queen stood, her presence commanding complete attention. "Ethan Parker," she said, her voice echoing. "Step forward." Ethan moved quickly but carefully. His feet made no sound on the polished floor. He stopped a few feet in front of the queen, keeping his posture straight. He did not remove his helmet, though he knew her order might come soon. "I have been observing humans for some time," Lysara said. "Your kind has courage, but also unpredictability. I want to see if you are worthy of trust. Remove your helmet." Ethan's heart beat faster, but he remained calm. He had expected a test, and this was it. Slowly, he reached up and unclasped the fastenings of his helmet. The metal piece lifted, and he revealed his face to the entire alien court. The room went silent. Ethan's features were ordinary: brown hair, steady blue eyes, and a calm expression. But there was something in the way he held himself, something that made the queen pause. Her violet eyes widened slightly. She had expected either arrogance or fear. Instead, she saw confidence mixed with humility. "You surprise me," Lysara said softly. She did not speak to anyone else. For a moment, Ethan felt the weight of her attention. He did not flinch. A soft hum came from the outer chamber. Another group of alien dignitaries entered. They were taller than the humans, with elongated limbs and glowing patterns across their bodies. They whispered among themselves, clearly skeptical of the human soldier. Ethan noticed their movements and instinctively adjusted his stance. He was not afraid, but he was aware that any sudden movement could be misinterpreted. Humans were small and fragile compared to these aliens, but Ethan's mind was sharp. He had learned to use strategy rather than brute force. Princess Alira's green eyes followed him closely. There was a mixture of fear and fascination in her gaze. Ethan offered a small nod, almost as if to say, "I will not harm you." She hesitated, then gave a faint smile. It was the first sign of trust he had received. The queen returned her attention to the human. "You will remain by my daughter's side," she said. "Observe, protect, and remember any failure will not be forgiven lightly." Ethan inclined his head. "Understood, Your Majesty." His voice was steady, though he felt a subtle thrill of anxiety. The stakes were high. The lives of the queen, the princess, and perhaps even the fragile trust between humans and aliens rested in part on his shoulders. The cruiser shuddered again, this time more violently. The lights flickered. Alarm panels on the walls lit up in a cascade of red and purple. The alien guards moved quickly, but Ethan was already on alert. He scanned the doors, the windows, and the floor for any sign of intrusion. A low rumble filled the chamber. The queen's advisors whispered urgently, their voices a strange melody. Ethan did not understand their language, but the tone was clear. Something was wrong. He took a careful step closer to Princess Alira, shielding her instinctively. A sudden explosion rocked the far side of the cruiser. Debris scattered across the polished floor. Alien guards shouted, drawing their weapons. Ethan dropped to the ground, rolling toward cover. He fired 2 quick shots, hitting a small robotic attacker that had breached the chamber. The princess gasped. Ethan quickly extended his hand. "Stay behind me," he said calmly. There was no fear in his voice, only certainty. The queen watched the scene with wide eyes. She had expected chaos, perhaps panic, but instead she saw strategy, precision, and courage. Her mind began to shift. Perhaps humans were not just fragile creatures, prone to mistakes. Perhaps they were more than she had allowed herself to believe. The attackers were small, robotic drones sent by a group opposed to human presence. They moved quickly, but Ethan was faster. He ducked, rolled, and fired again, disabling 3 more machines. The alien guards hesitated for a moment, clearly impressed by the human's skill. Princess Alira whispered something to herself. Ethan heard her faintly. "He is different." He did not respond, keeping his focus on the remaining drones. Finally, the last drone was destroyed. The chamber fell silent, save for the hum of the cruiser and the shallow breaths of those inside. Ethan stood, brushing dust from his uniform, and looked at the queen. "You are skilled," Lysara said, her tone still formal but with a hint of surprise. "Perhaps more than I expected." Ethan nodded slightly. "I am trained to protect, that is my duty." The queen studied him for a long moment. Her glowing eyes reflected both caution and curiosity. Then she turned to her daughter. "Alira, see what I have said. Humans can be brave. They can also be something more." Alira looked at Ethan again, a new respect in her eyes. The human soldier had proven himself in the first test, not just by defending life, but by showing calm intelligence under pressure. Ethan did not know it yet, but this moment marked the beginning of a change. The alien court would never look at humans the same way again. And he, a single human soldier, was at the center of it all. Outside the cruiser, the stars continued to move in their silent paths. Inside, tension hung like a quiet storm, waiting for the next challenge. Ethan Parker remained ready, calm, and alert. The Queen's order to remove his helmet had been more than a test. It had been an invitation to change her perception of humanity forever. And Ethan, standing in the polished chamber, knew that this was only the beginning. The calm inside the cruiser did not last long. After the attack of the small drones, the alien court moved quickly to secure the chamber. Guards stationed themselves at every doorway, their long arms holding strange, glowing weapons. The Queen stayed on her throne, watching every movement carefully. Princess Alira remained close to Ethan, her small hand brushing his arm for reassurance. Ethan studied the room, noting every detail. The walls had panels that could hide weapons or surveillance devices. The floors were smooth and reflected light in strange patterns, making it easy for attackers to move silently. Ethan had faced danger before, but this was different. These aliens had technology far beyond what humans used. Still, his mind worked fast. Strategy and observation were more important than strength. "Stay alert," Ethan whispered to Princess Alira. "Do not move from my side." Alira nodded. Her eyes were wide, but she did not protest. Humans were different from what she had expected. They were not loud or reckless. This one, Ethan, was calm and steady. She began to feel a small spark of trust. The Queen spoke quietly to her advisors. Ethan could not understand the words, but the tone was sharp and urgent. A few minutes later, a messenger came running. He was small, with glowing markings on his skin, and carried a data crystal in his hands. He bowed deeply before the Queen and handed her the crystal. Lysara activated it, and a hologram appeared above the crystal. It showed a large map of the colony below and several moving dots, small but distinct. The Queen's eyes followed the dots carefully. "They are planning something," she said softly. "Someone inside this court has betrayed us." Ethan stepped closer, his instincts telling him something important was about to happen. He had been trained to notice subtle signs, and he saw the way some of the alien guards avoided the Queen's eyes. He had learned that fear or guilt often showed in small movements. The Queen turned to him. "Ethan Parker, remain vigilant. There are eyes in this room that do not belong to loyal service. Watch, protect, and act if needed." "I understand," Ethan replied. His voice was calm, but inside his mind was already working. He scanned the room again. His gaze landed on a tall alien at the far end of the hall. The alien had long fingers and a smooth face, but his eyes flickered rapidly, almost as if he was hiding something. Ethan made a mental note. Minutes passed slowly. The court resumed its usual activities, but the tension was thick. The Queen held small meetings with her advisors, and Ethan stayed close to Alira. She asked him quiet questions, her voice low and curious. "Why are humans so different?" she whispered. "I thought you would be loud and reckless." Ethan smiled faintly. "We are different, but that does not mean we cannot be brave or careful. Some humans learn to think before they act." Alira nodded. She liked the way he spoke. He was simple but strong. She felt safer near him than near some of the alien guards. Suddenly, alarms rang throughout the cruiser. The walls vibrated again. The alien guards moved immediately, weapons drawn. Ethan's hand rested on his sidearm. He scanned the room, searching for the source of the disturbance. A small door opened on the far side of the hall. A group of shadowy figures slipped inside. They moved quickly, and their faces were hidden under masks. Ethan recognized the threat immediately. They were trying to kidnap the princess. "Get down!" Ethan shouted. He pushed Alira behind him and fired at the nearest intruder. His shots were precise. One of the figures dropped to the floor and another stumbled back. The aliens in the court reacted, drawing their weapons, but they were slower than Ethan. The shadowy figures moved fast. Ethan ran forward, blocking the path to the princess. His mind worked quickly. He could not let them take her. Using his body as a shield, he pushed Alira behind a console and aimed at the intruders. "Stay down," he ordered. His voice was calm but firm. He had learned that fear could spread quickly. Calmness gave others strength. The intruders fired strange weapons. Energy bolts shot across the hall, leaving marks on the polished floors and walls. Ethan dodged and rolled, moving with skill and speed. He grabbed a small device from his belt and threw it near the intruders. It exploded in a flash of light, blinding them briefly. The Queen watched in shock. She had expected the guards to handle danger, but this human acted faster and smarter than any of them. Her eyes softened slightly, though she did not show it openly. Alira peeked from behind the console. "He is amazing," she whispered. Ethan did not reply. His focus was on keeping her safe. Another intruder tried to get behind him, but he turned quickly and struck the alien with his elbow, knocking the attacker off balance. Then he fired again, hitting the intruder's device and disabling it. The hall fell silent once more. The shadowy figures retreated, leaving the cruiser quickly. The Queen stood, her glowing eyes on Ethan. She was clearly impressed. "You are more than I expected, human," she said. "You have courage and skill." "You protected my daughter without hesitation." Ethan nodded. "That is my duty. I do not fear danger if it means keeping her safe." The Queen paused. For a moment she studied him closely. "Most humans would run or hide. You did not. That is rare." Alira stepped closer to Ethan. "Thank you," she said softly. "You saved me." Ethan smiled faintly. "It is my job. You are safe now." The Queen moved her hand slowly, signaling the guards to relax. "See, Alira, not all humans are reckless. Some are strong, brave, and wise." Alira looked at Ethan with admiration. He had shown her a side of humans she had never seen. The bond between them grew stronger in those moments. She trusted him completely, and she felt comforted knowing he was near. Ethan noticed the small gestures of trust from the princess. He knew it was rare for aliens to openly show trust to humans. He also knew that danger could return at any moment. His mind remained alert, scanning every corner of the hall, every shadow, every panel. Hours passed quietly. The Queen held private meetings, and Ethan stayed with Alira, explaining in simple words about human behavior and his past training. She listened with wide eyes, fascinated by his courage and calm. Suddenly, another alarm rang. This one was louder and more urgent. The cruiser shook violently, and the lights flickered. Ethan grabbed Alira's hand and moved quickly to the center of the hall. The Queen's advisors shouted in their language, but Ethan did not understand the words. He only knew danger had returned. From the observation window, Ethan saw a group of ships approaching. They were small and fast, moving in patterns designed to surround the cruiser. The Queen's eyes narrowed. She turned to Ethan. "They will attack," she said. "Prepare yourself, protect my daughter at all costs." Ethan nodded. His body tensed, ready for the fight. He had faced many enemies before, but this was different. These attackers were determined and clever. They wanted the princess for reasons he did not yet understand. The first wave of ships fired energy blasts at the cruiser. The walls shook and sparks flew from the consoles. Alien guards returned fire, but Ethan moved with precision, guiding Alira to safety. He spotted weak points in the cruiser's defenses and acted quickly, using both his weapons and quick thinking to block attacks. The Queen watched in amazement. She had not expected humans to act with such skill in the face of advanced alien technology. Her mind began to change. Perhaps humans were not weak. Perhaps they could become allies in ways she had never imagined. Hours of careful defense passed. Ethan never wavered. He protected Alira, guided the guards, and disabled several enemy devices. By the time the attackers retreated, the cruiser had sustained minor damage, but the princess remained unharmed. The Queen stood slowly. Her violet eyes softened as she regarded Ethan. "You have done well, human. You have not only protected my daughter, but shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty." Ethan nodded, still alert. "I will continue to protect her. That is my duty." Alira smiled at him. "I feel safe because of you. Thank you." The Queen looked at both of them. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as I believed. Perhaps there is more to your kind than I understood." Ethan remained silent, but inside he felt a small satisfaction. He had proven himself not through words, but through action. And for the first time, the alien court began to see humans in a new light. Outside, the stars continued to move in silence. Inside the cruiser, tension had eased slightly, but the memory of danger lingered. Ethan Parker stayed close to Princess Alira, alert and ready for whatever might come next. The bond between human and alien princess had begun, and it would grow stronger with every test of courage and trust. And somewhere in the shadows of the alien court, those who had tried to harm the princess were already planning their next move, unaware that the human soldier had proven he was a challenge they could not underestimate. The cruiser was quiet now, but the air was heavy with tension. The earlier attacks had left everyone on edge. Alien guards patrolled the hallways with sharper eyes and tighter grips on their weapons. Ethan Parker remained close to Princess Alira, his senses alert to every sound and movement. Alira walked beside him slowly, her steps careful on the polished floor. "Do humans always stay calm in danger?" she asked quietly. Her green eyes looked up at him, filled with curiosity. Ethan smiled faintly. "Not always. Some panic, some fight without thinking. But the best ones stay calm and think first. That way they survive and help others." Alira nodded, absorbing his words. She had seen his calmness in action during the attacks. She felt safer with him than with any of the alien guards, even though they were trained from birth to defend her. The Queen watched silently from her throne as Ethan guided the princess through the halls. She had been observing him for hours, and each moment added to her growing respect for humans. They were different from what she expected, brave, clever, and careful at the same time. She had expected fear or arrogance or recklessness. Instead, she had seen courage and intelligence. Lysara spoke softly to one of her advisors, her eyes still on Ethan. "He is unusual. My daughter trusts him. That alone is significant. Perhaps we have underestimated humans." The advisor bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, the humans are unpredictable. Some are reckless, yes, but some show courage beyond measure. This one is clearly among the latter." The Queen did not reply immediately. She continued watching Ethan as he led Alira into a private chamber. It was a room of soft light, with walls that shimmered like liquid silver. The floor had cushions and low furniture designed for comfort rather than function. "Sit here," Ethan said, pointing to a cushion. Alira obeyed, still cautious but trusting. Ethan remained standing, scanning the door and the windows. "I need to make sure we are safe," he explained simply. "There may still be danger." Alira watched him closely. "You are very careful," she said. "I have never seen anyone like you. Even our guards, they panic sometimes." "But you think first." Ethan looked at her. "I want to keep you safe. That is my job. Thinking first helps me do that." She smiled faintly, a small trust growing in her heart. "I am glad you are here," she said softly. The queen entered the room quietly, her presence like a shadow. She moved with grace, her eyes on Ethan. He stood still, respectful, waiting for her command. "Ethan Parker," Lysara said, her voice calm but firm. "You have shown courage, skill, and intelligence. You protected my daughter when my guards hesitated. That is unusual for humans." Ethan nodded. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what was needed." The queen studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke again, her tone softer. "You may remove your helmet completely when in my presence. I wish to see your face fully without barriers." Ethan's hand moved slowly, unclasping the helmet. When he removed it completely, he met the queen's violet eyes. She looked at him with something close to amazement. She had expected arrogance or perhaps fear, but instead she saw determination, calm, and honesty. "You are different," she said softly, almost to herself. "Humans are usually loud or reckless. You are neither." Ethan inclined his head slightly. "I only try to do my duty well." The queen turned her attention to her daughter. "Alira, see what I mean? Not all humans are what you may have been told. Some are capable of bravery and loyalty in ways we have never imagined." Alira looked at Ethan with wide eyes. "He is amazing," she whispered. The queen walked closer, her gaze shifting between Ethan and Alira. "I have never seen a human act with such calm intelligence in the face of danger," she said. "Most would panic. Some would act without thinking. You are unusual." Ethan stayed respectful. "I am only a soldier. My duty is to protect life, not to seek praise." Lysara nodded slowly, clearly considering his words. "Perhaps humans are more than we believed. Perhaps there is value in observing them closely." The queen turned back to her advisors. "Keep watch on all entrances. Do not allow any threats near my daughter, and keep a careful eye on this human. He may teach us more than we know." Outside the chamber, shadows moved. A few of the queen's advisors whispered in low voices. They were unsure about Ethan, but even they could not deny his skill and composure. Some began to realize that humans might be stronger and smarter than they had assumed. Hours passed quietly. Ethan remained vigilant. He explained to Alira in simple words about human training, how humans learned to stay calm and why courage was not always loud or violent. She listened with fascination. "You make humans sound wise," she said. "I thought humans only fought and shouted." "But you think before you act." Ethan smiled faintly. "We have to. Sometimes thinking is the difference between life and death, and sometimes it helps others survive too." Alira nodded. She began to understand that bravery was not just about strength. It was about thought, skill, and care. Ethan had shown her that clearly. Suddenly, the cruiser shook again. This time, the warning alarms were louder, more urgent. Ethan immediately moved in front of Alira, scanning the hallways. The queen appeared at the doorway, her expression sharp. "They are testing us again," she said. "I do not know who will strike next, but be ready. Protect the princess at all costs." Ethan nodded. He had already considered every angle. "We will be ready," he said. Outside, small lights moved quickly, approaching the cruiser. Ethan could not tell what they were yet, but instinct told him danger was near. He grabbed Alira's hand and moved her to a position behind cover, keeping her close. The queen watched silently, clearly impressed. Ethan did not panic, did not shout, did not hesitate. He assessed, acted, and protected. She realized that humans could be unpredictable, but in a positive way. Their courage and intelligence could be useful if understood and respected. Minutes later, small drones appeared, attempting to enter the chamber. Ethan acted immediately. He fired with precision, disabling 2 drones quickly. The alien guards followed his lead, coordinating their actions with his guidance. Alira whispered, "He is so brave and smart." "I feel safe with him." Ethan glanced at her and nodded slightly. "Stay calm, follow my instructions, you will be safe." The drones retreated, unable to overcome Ethan's strategy. The queen's violet eyes softened slightly. She had expected chaos, perhaps human failure, but instead she saw calm, clever action that saved her daughter. Perhaps there is hope for humans yet, the queen said quietly to herself. They are not as weak as we believed. They can be strong, brave, and clever. Perhaps they are something more. Alira looked at Ethan, admiration clear in her eyes. The bond between human and alien princess grew stronger in those moments. Trust had been earned not by words, but by actions. The queen left the room slowly, leaving Ethan and Alira together. She did not speak again, but her presence lingered in thought. She was beginning to see humans differently. Perhaps they could be allies, perhaps even friends. Ethan continued to guide Alira through the halls, teaching her small lessons about human courage and thought. She listened carefully, learning to see humans as more than stories and warnings. The night passed quietly. The cruiser moved steadily, the stars outside like distant jewels in the sky, but inside the tension remained. Ethan knew the court still had enemies. He knew the shadows held danger, and he knew that every moment required careful thought and action. Princess Alira stayed close to him, trusting him completely. Ethan felt a quiet pride, not in himself, but in the fact that he could protect life, earn trust, and show the value of humanity. And somewhere in the quiet corridors of the cruiser, those who had opposed humans watched carefully. They did not yet understand that one human soldier could change the perception of an entire alien court. Ethan Parker had proven bravery and intelligence. The Queen had begun to respect humans. And the bond between a human and an alien princess had begun, a bond that would grow stronger with every test, every challenge, and every act of courage. The night ended, but the story was only beginning. The cruiser moved quietly through space, but inside, tension had not faded. Ethan Parker walked beside Princess Alira, his eyes scanning every corridor and doorway. He knew danger was still near. The earlier attacks had not been random. Someone in the alien court wanted to harm the princess, and Ethan was determined to stop them. Alira stayed close, her small hand brushing his arm occasionally. "Do you think they will come back?" she asked, her green eyes wide with worry. Ethan shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but if they do, we will be ready." The princess looked at him and felt comforted. Humans were unpredictable in strange ways, but Ethan's calm courage made her feel safe. Even the elite alien guards sometimes faltered, but Ethan had never shown doubt. The queen observed them from her throne, her violet eyes thoughtful. She had seen Ethan in action twice now. Both times he had proven skill, intelligence, and bravery. He had protected her daughter without hesitation and had even guided her own guards in battle. Lysara's mind began to change. Humans were not weak. They could be clever, brave, and loyal in ways the alien court had never imagined. Suddenly, a quiet alarm sounded. Ethan tensed immediately, signaling Alira to stay low. The lights in the corridor flickered and the hum of the cruiser deepened. From the shadows, a figure appeared. It was tall, with long fingers and dark markings on its skin. Its eyes were narrow and full of malice. Ethan recognized the alien immediately, one of the court advisors who had whispered against humans and plotted in secret. The intruder moved quickly, aiming to block their path. Ethan stepped in front of Alira, his stance wide and steady. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The alien lunged, but Ethan was faster. He grabbed the attacker's arm, twisting it and forcing the alien to the floor. The intruder hissed and tried to struggle, but Ethan held firm. He did not strike unnecessarily. His goal was to stop the threat, not to harm. Alira watched silently. She had seen humans act before, but this was different. Ethan was calm, precise, and controlled. He did not panic even when facing danger. The Queen's voice echoed in the corridor suddenly. "Ethan Parker, stop him. Show no hesitation." Ethan tightened his grip and pushed the alien away, keeping his focus sharp. The intruder tried to escape, but Ethan anticipated each move. With a final push, the alien crashed into the wall, stunned but alive. "You are clever," Lysara said, her voice calm but with a hint of admiration. "Most humans would have rushed and failed. You think first, and that is why you survive." Ethan nodded. "I only want to protect the princess." The Queen watched him carefully. "You do more than protect. You inspire trust, courage, and even loyalty in others. That is rare in humans." Alira stepped closer, her eyes shining. "I knew you were different," she said softly. "You are brave and smart. I trust you completely." Ethan smiled faintly. "Thank you. That means a lot." The intruder, meanwhile, had regained some strength and tried to move again. Ethan acted quickly, using his weight and leverage to keep the alien pinned. He tied the alien's hands with a small cord from his belt, immobilizing the threat. "This one will not move for a while," Ethan said. "We need to alert the Queen and secure the other areas." Alira nodded. "I will stay with you," she said. "I do not want anyone else near me." The Queen entered the corridor silently. "You acted wisely," she said, her violet eyes sharp. "Most humans would have panicked. You are different." Ethan lowered his head slightly, showing respect. "I only do what is needed, Your Majesty." The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then she turned to Alira. "See, my daughter, not all humans are weak or foolish. Some are capable of great courage and thought. Remember this." Alira looked at Ethan and smiled faintly. "I will remember," she said softly. The cruiser shook suddenly as another alert rang out. Ethan immediately moved to cover Alira, scanning the area. "Stay low," he whispered. "We may have more intruders." This time, the threat was different. Several shadowy figures emerged from hidden panels in the walls. They moved fast, and their weapons glowed faintly. Ethan did not hesitate. He grabbed Alira's hand and ran toward a side chamber, using his body to shield her from incoming fire. The aliens fired at them, but Ethan's reflexes were sharp. He ducked, rolled, and returned fire when needed, aiming carefully to disable but not kill. Alira followed his movements, learning instinctively to trust his lead. The Queen watched silently from the observation window above. She had expected panic from the human, but instead she saw skill, precision, and calm courage. Her mind began to change further. Perhaps humans were not just brave. Perhaps they were intelligent, loyal, and capable of strategy. Hours passed as Ethan fought off the intruders, always keeping Alira safe. He moved with confidence, guiding the alien guards, using his knowledge of tactics, and observing weak points in the attackers' strategies. Each time he succeeded without unnecessary force, showing control and discipline. Alira whispered to him during a quiet moment. "How do you stay so calm?" Ethan looked at her. "Thinking helps. Panicking makes mistakes. Calmness helps you see clearly and protect others." She nodded slowly, understanding a little more about humans. "I wish more of our people could see this. You are amazing." Ethan did not answer, focusing on the sounds of movement in the corridor. He knew the intruders were not finished. Somewhere in the shadows, the threat was waiting for another chance. He had to remain alert, ready to protect the princess at all costs. Finally, the last of the intruders were captured or driven away. The corridor fell silent. Ethan checked Alira carefully, ensuring she was unharmed. She nodded at him, trust and admiration clear in her eyes. The Queen descended from her observation point, her presence calm but commanding. "Ethan Parker," she said, her violet eyes meeting his, "you have proven more than skill and courage. You have shown loyalty, intelligence, and the ability to protect life in ways few humans or aliens could. You are remarkable." Ethan inclined his head slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only do my duty." The Queen studied him for a moment longer. Then she spoke quietly, almost to herself. "Perhaps we have judged humans too harshly. This one shows potential. He may teach us much about courage, thought, and loyalty." Alira smiled at Ethan. "I knew you were different," she said softly. "You have saved my life more than once. I trust you completely." Ethan nodded. "And I will continue to protect you. That is my promise." The Queen motioned to her guards. "Secure all corridors, increase patrols. And keep this human close to my daughter. He is unusual, and he may prove invaluable." Ethan remained close to Alira, guiding her through the cruiser. He explained small details about human thinking, about observation, strategy, and calm action. She listened, fascinated by his clarity and intelligence. The Queen watched them from a distance. She could not deny the truth. This human soldier had proven courage, intelligence, and loyalty far beyond what she had expected. Perhaps humans were not weak. Perhaps they could be trusted, and perhaps they could teach aliens something new about bravery and thought. Outside the cruiser, stars moved silently. Inside, tension remained, but there was also a new respect, one that humans had earned through action, courage, and calm intelligence. Ethan Parker had shown that humanity, though small in size, could stand strong even among powerful aliens. The night passed slowly, but the memory of the danger lingered. Ethan knew the court still had enemies. He knew shadows held threats, and he remained vigilant, ready for the next challenge. Princess Alira stayed close to him, trusting him completely. Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction, not in pride, but in knowing that he could protect life, earn trust, and show the value of humanity. And somewhere in the hidden chambers of the alien court, those who had plotted against the princess whispered and planned. They did not yet understand that one human soldier had proven he was clever, strong, and courageous enough to protect the princess against impossible odds. Ethan Parker had acted decisively, showing bravery, intelligence, and loyalty. The Queen had begun to see humans differently. The bond between a human and an alien princess had grown stronger, a bond that would only deepen with every test of courage and trust. The night ended, but the challenges were not over. Ethan Parker remained ready, alert, and calm, prepared to face whatever danger came next, because he knew that protecting life was more important than fear or hesitation. And somewhere in the quiet corridors, the intruders were already planning their next move, unaware that the human they had underestimated was prepared for anything. The cruiser moved steadily through space, but inside, tension was thick. Ethan Parker walked beside Princess Alira, alert to every sound, every shadow, every movement. The previous attacks had been warnings. Someone inside the alien court still wanted to harm the princess. Ethan knew that this time, the danger would be greater. Alira clutched his arm lightly. "Do you think they will try again?" she asked, her green eyes wide with worry. Ethan shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but if they do, we will be ready. Stay close to me." The princess nodded. She had grown to trust him completely. Every time danger appeared, Ethan had acted with calm courage. He had protected her from harm, guided the alien guards, and outsmarted enemies who believed themselves clever. She knew he was different from all other humans, and even from many aliens. The Queen watched from above, her violet eyes fixed on the hallway where Ethan led Alira. She had been impressed again and again, but she still could not fully understand his kind. Humans were unpredictable, but this one, Ethan, had shown bravery, intelligence, and loyalty beyond what she had expected. She began to wonder if humans might truly be allies, if perhaps their courage could change the galaxy. Suddenly, a loud alarm rang. The lights in the hall flickered violently. Ethan's hand went immediately to his sidearm. He pulled Alira behind a piece of cover, scanning the corridor. From the shadows, a group of intruders appeared. They were fast, armed with glowing weapons, and moved with deadly precision. Ethan did not hesitate. He stepped in front of Alira, his body tense and ready. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The intruders fired first, sending beams of energy across the hall. Ethan ducked, rolled, and returned fire, disabling one of the attackers. He guided Alira carefully, keeping her low and safe. The alien guards tried to respond, but Ethan's calm and quick actions coordinated them better than any command could. The Queen watched silently, her mind racing. She had expected her guards to handle danger, but Ethan's skill and bravery far surpassed them all. Every move he made was precise, intelligent, and effective. She could not deny the truth. This human was extraordinary. Alira whispered, "He is amazing, even more than before." Ethan glanced at her, offering a small, reassuring nod. "Stay calm, trust me." The intruders moved closer, trying to flank them. Ethan anticipated the movement. Using his body and quick thinking, he blocked the path, forcing the attackers to split. One turned to strike him, but Ethan was ready. He dodged and used the attacker's momentum against him, sending him stumbling into another intruder. The corridor echoed with sounds of struggle and energy blasts. Ethan remained focused, protecting Alira while coordinating the alien guards. His calm mind saw patterns the attackers did not notice. He found weak points in their strategy and acted quickly to stop them. The Queen spoke softly, almost to herself. "Humans, I underestimated their potential. This one, he shows courage, intelligence, and loyalty beyond any alien I have known." Hours passed as Ethan fought off the intruders. He moved with precision, disabling weapons, blocking attacks, and protecting the princess at all times. Alira followed his instructions, learning to trust his movements completely. Finally, the last intruder was cornered. Ethan did not strike unnecessarily. He tied the attacker's hands and immobilized him. The corridor fell silent except for the hum of the cruiser. Ethan checked Alira carefully. She was unharmed, though shaken. "You are safe now," he said softly. Alira looked up at him, admiration and gratitude shining in her green eyes. "I knew you would protect me," she whispered. "You are incredible." Ethan smiled faintly. "I only do my duty." The Queen appeared at the doorway, her presence calm but commanding. She studied Ethan closely. "Ethan Parker," she said, her violet eyes serious but filled with respect, "you have proven yourself beyond doubt. You have faced danger, protected my daughter, and acted with intelligence, bravery, and loyalty. You are extraordinary." Ethan inclined his head slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what was necessary." The queen walked closer, observing how he moved, how he protected the princess, and how he remained calm in the face of danger. Most humans would panic. Some would act without thought. You are different. You are clever, brave, and loyal. You have earned not only my respect, but also the trust of my daughter and my court. Alira stepped forward. "I trust him completely, Mother. He saved me. He protected me when no one else could. I want him to stay with me." The queen looked at her daughter, then back at Ethan. She could see the bond that had formed. It was not just protection, it was respect, trust, and understanding. She nodded slowly. "Very well," she said. "Ethan Parker, you shall remain close to my daughter. You have proven that your kind can act with courage, intelligence, and honor. Perhaps we have judged humans too quickly. Perhaps your actions will show us the value of humanity." Ethan lowered his head slightly, showing respect. "I will protect her always, Your Majesty." The queen motioned to her guards. "Secure the entire cruiser, increase patrols, and ensure that this human remains close to the princess. He has proven that his courage and intelligence are greater than most of our own." Hours passed. The cruiser continued through space, quiet now but tense. Ethan remained vigilant, always watching for danger. He explained to Alira in simple words why he acted the way he did, teaching her about courage, observation, and careful thinking. She listened intently, fascinated by the clarity of his mind and the strength of his spirit. "You are more than I imagined," she whispered. "Even your words teach me things humans do differently." Ethan smiled faintly. "I try to think clearly. Panic does not help. Calmness helps protect life." Alira nodded, understanding a little more about humans. "I wish more people could see what I see. You are amazing." The queen watched them from a distance. She had seen humans act before, but never with this combination of courage, intelligence, and loyalty. Ethan had changed her view of humanity completely. She realized that humans were not weak. They could be brave, clever, and trustworthy. Perhaps they could become allies, friends, or even equals in ways she had never considered. Suddenly, a final alarm rang. The cruiser shook slightly. Ethan immediately moved to cover Alira, scanning the area. This time, the threat was different. A large group of attackers had breached the outer corridors. Their weapons glowed brightly, and their movement was fast and coordinated. Ethan did not hesitate. He positioned himself between Alira and the intruders. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The attackers fired first. Ethan ducked, rolled, and returned fire. His movements were precise, each shot disabling a threat without unnecessary risk. He coordinated the alien guards, guiding them to positions where they could block attacks. The battle was intense. Energy blasts lit the corridor and sparks flew from the walls. Ethan moved with calm precision, protecting Alira at all times. His intelligence and skill turned the tide of the fight. The intruders were clever, but Ethan was faster, sharper, and more decisive. Finally, the last of the attackers were captured or driven away. Ethan checked Alira carefully. She was unharmed. "You are safe now," he said softly. Alira smiled at him. "I knew you would protect me," she whispered. "I trust you completely." The queen entered the corridor slowly, her presence calm but commanding. She looked at Ethan, her violet eyes filled with respect. "Ethan Parker, you have done more than protect my daughter. You have shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty beyond measure. You have earned the respect of my court, my daughter, and myself. You are extraordinary." Ethan inclined his head slightly. "I only do my duty, Your Majesty." The queen studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Very well. You shall remain close to my daughter. Humans may be unpredictable, but you have shown that they can also be brave, intelligent, and loyal. Your actions have proven this beyond doubt." Alira stepped closer to Ethan. "I am glad you are here," she said softly. "You have saved me more times than I can count. I trust you completely." Ethan nodded. "And I will continue to protect you. That is my promise." The queen motioned to her guards. "Increase security. Keep this human near my daughter. He has proven his worth, and he may teach us much about courage and loyalty." The cruiser moved steadily through space. Outside, stars moved silently. Inside, tension had eased, but the respect for one human soldier remained strong. Ethan Parker had proven that humanity, though small and young among the stars, could stand strong against threats far greater than themselves. Princess Alira stayed close to him, trusting him completely. Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction, not in pride, but in knowing he had protected life, earned trust, and shown the value of humanity. The Queen reflected silently. She had underestimated humans, but now, thanks to one soldier, she had seen their true potential. Humans could be brave, clever, and loyal. Perhaps they could change the future of the galaxy. Ethan Parker had faced impossible odds, protected life, and earned respect. The bond between a human and an alien princess had grown unbreakable, a bond built on trust, courage, and loyalty. And somewhere in the quiet corridors of the cruiser, those who had plotted against the princess realized they could no longer underestimate one human soldier. Ethan Parker had proven that humans were not weak. He had shown that courage, intelligence, and loyalty could stand against any threat. The night ended, but the story of humanity among the stars had only just begun.